It's the AI dumpster fire of the week, oh yeah. Bizarre responses make us all stop and stare. From coded dreams to errors that make you shriek. Step right up, see the AI freak show here.
So, low-quality books that appear to be AI-generated are making their way into public libraries' digital catalogs. There was a great article by 404 Media detailing this, and the way it works is this. Public libraries primarily use two services, Hoopla and Overdrive for ebooks. Obviously, there's other stuff for the physical books, but we're talking the digital stuff. Because fortunately AI is not fully operating printing presses yet. But these two digital companies, Hoopla and Overdrive, and people were probably familiar with Libby, which later became Overdrive. They deliver all the ebooks to the libraries, so they provide these massive catalogs. There's a key difference between Overdrive and Hoopla. With Overdrive, librarians pick and choose which books to lend and to have, and with Hoopla, you opt into their entire massive catalog, and then you just pay for whatever people choose to borrow from it. So, like, two different pricing models that have distinct advantages. With Hoopla, you get a massive catalog, and you only pay for what you use. Overdrive's more traditional. Hoopla is the one that is sort of the focus of more trouble here, although this issue does exist in Overdrive. Hoopla's giant catalog, reading from the article, which includes ebooks, audiobooks, and movies, is a selling point because it gives librarians access to more for a cheaper price. On the other hand, making librarians buy into the entire catalog means that a customer looking for a book about how to diet for healthier living might end up borrowing Fatty Liver Diet Cookbook, 2,000 Days of Simple and Flavorful Recipes for a Revitalized Liver, which is a book authored by Magda Tangi, who has no online footprint, an AI-generated profile picture on Amazon, and so much more. And that is just like one example of a lot of the stuff that we're seeing. So it's AI-generated slop books in all kinds of categories, mass added to Hoopla's catalog.
Well, and I think there's a ton of people creating AI books for Amazon Unlimited right now too. And so this is like a downstream ripple effect of that, right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, because they probably have some deals with Hoopla, as well as other publishing places that people are putting these books out. And it falls on the shoulders of the librarians to sort through and deal with this, who are already understaffed. And, you know, they have to spend all of their time and resources sifting through, you know, this crap if they want to prevent it being there and prevent people buying it. And there's issues with a lot of sensitive topics, right? And again, avoiding politics, but one of the instances they pull up is when you search for ebooks about homosexuality and abortion, you end up with a lot of self-published religious texts and things like that that are more of that kind of thing rather than like factual information or scientific stuff. It's similar to, you know, the slop problem on the internet, like we were talking about, but it's people opinionate, or people kind of flooding everything that's out there with the opinionated or opinion-based works that are not necessarily vetted by experts, but they're throwing it out there because they're driven by a cause rather than really finding high-quality works that touch on a sensitive topic. Yeah, and sometimes it's blatant in the sense that, like, there was even one they mentioned where, like, the title was like AI monetization. It was like that with 3 eyes, and like the lowest effort stuff is making its way into there. And it's actually, they've had this. I like this. We call this kind of thing AI slop, like that's the current term that's coming out. But there's been this problem for a while, and librarians have been calling it vendor slurry, where it used to, you know, before generative AI, it would also refer to like the low quality self-published books or summaries that people would create in other ways, you know, as a way to make a quick buck. Like, this has been a problem before AI, but AI has certainly ramped it up, because now if I wanted this afternoon, I could generate a bunch of books and upload them to Amazon. Right. And that would just take me.
And I see advertisements for courses on how to do that all the time.
Yeah, I do too. That's the reason I don't like logging on LinkedIn. I feel like that's most of the posts. I see them more
on Facebook than everything. Right now. So like be your own AI content factory, and you can generate
ebooks within 10 minutes type of thing.
Like, this is the thing that is poisoning everything, and I'm not exactly sure how to put a concise pin in it, but it is the drive to like make money with minimum effort, which is like an understandable human drive, because nobody wants to work to survive. We'd all like to just have money and do what we want whenever we want to. So like, it's understandable how people do that, but the pursuit of making money through these methods is destroying public resources and muddying these waters in a way that's hard to reverse.
I'd be interested in talking to somebody who's making a living doing this someday, not really to criticize them, but to understand, like, when they're generating the books, do they really feel like they're finding, using the LLM and building the format and everything, and then serving an actual niche? And maybe they've got some ignorance in the topic because it could be a specialized topic, but they're pulling all that together and they're just kind of blindly trusting the LLM, or maybe they even feel like they're vetting some of it. But I think there's probably a combination of that mindset of, oh, I see a market need. I think that I can pull together information that would be useful to people very fast. And I also think that I can be a good marketer. So they're like putting, they're splitting themselves into like 5 different roles, and maybe not really being an expert in any of those. But I don't know the mind of the person that's doing that.
Yeah, no, and I can't either, and I'm sure it's different case to case. And I'm sure that there are people with like the best of intentions who end up putting stuff out that is sloppy. But given the amount of things that are like become your own AI content factory and make passive income, I'd like to speak to a handful of people who do this and sort of get an idea of what they think and if they care, because the impression that I get from at least the most egregious examples is there's no way that this person even read most of it, because the moment you do, you can immediately see how it's like nonsensical and bad. And yeah, I don't really know what to do with it, because like, what do we do about it? This is the problem we're all facing, right? Because like you said, sometimes it comes from an earnest place and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. And like, even the librarians they spoke to for this article were saying, like, we don't want to ban all AI stuff. Like, AI totally has a place in helping people write books and craft prose. It's just this like torrential onslaught of like stuff that nobody cared really to make or make well.
Well, I think what they're getting at is that there almost needs to be something that's like the equivalent of the Apple App Store. How Apple has a number of hoops that people have to jump through in order to put something on the App Store versus like the Google Play Store has way less effort to get something in, which is why the Google Play Store is riddled with malware and the Apple App Store faces that a lot less. I'm almost wondering if there should be some kind of walled garden like that for these, at least things that are being pushed into public spaces like the library, where people are having to clean up the mess.
Yeah, I feel like in this instance, it would lie on Overdrive and Hoopla to be better and more selective about what they include, because
there should be a vetting.
They're providing a service to the libraries, right? Like, their service is to provide these books, and if they're providing a bad service, so like, but how do they even begin to fix it? Because they are not the ones publishing.
They could use AI.
Well, that's true, and actually, I think they may have mentioned that in the article. I didn't clip that for our notes page, but I thought I had come across something like using AI tools to detect AI generated content it can be a crapshoot. We've talked about it a lot.
Which is also notoriously bad, right?
Yeah.
So that would have to be fixed. And then you'd also have to figure out, is the AI generated content potentially useful? Because like they were saying, they don't want to ban it outright. So you have to see, is it useful for the stated purpose, or is it potentially just creating, is it taking up digital and mental space that would be better used somewhere else?
Even I was thinking, like, what if we did something similar to Anthropic's constitutional classifiers, but instead of harmful versus harmless, we looked at helpful versus useless. But then, like, defining, I mean, this is an issue they faced with harmful versus harmless. At least there's some pretty easy delineations of things that are definitely harmful. But similarly, there's easy delineations of things that are definitely useless, but it's that, it's this filter issue.
Well, and does something actually have to be useful to? Does it being useless mean that it's bad?
That too.
Because there's a lot of things that are useless that you and I probably could just go and pay money for happily.
Yeah. I mean, there's like loads of things that I do that are useless that are just for fun, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And loads of content we put out. So, you know, where it is matters. And I think that's why this being in public libraries sort of hits a particular nerve for me, just because like that is such a useful public resource that's already struggling to continue to exist. And yet in a lot of communities that are underserved, in rural communities, public libraries are like the only place that some people go to get access to the internet and access to other kinds of information. And this is taxing that system. And so I hope Overdrive and Hoopla step up and do something better about this. I feel like that's the only place.
Ultimately, the thing that they have to solve for is signal to noise, right? Is you have to be able to have an effective way to discern whether the thing that you're trying to access is going to be useful for the purpose that you're searching for it. And if you can deal with that through a number of systems, then you're effectively dealing with the cutting through the slop. So it's signal to slop ratio, I guess.
Yeah. And to close out this segment, I'll end with similar sentiment from the librarians they talked to, from the article from 404 Media, which we will link to an email newsletter referral link, because otherwise you can't read the whole thing without paying. Nice. They say, all librarians are asking for at this point is that Hoopla explain exactly how its selection process works and hopefully improve it. Quote from Sarah Lambden, Deputy Director of the American Library Association, says, platforms like Hoopla should offer libraries the option to select or omit materials, including AI materials in their collections. AI books should be well identified in library catalogs so it's clear to readers that the books were not written by human authors. If library visitors choose to read AI ebooks, they should do so with the knowledge that the books are AI generated. And I think that misses the mark for the reasons we talked about. Simple tag like that isn't it, and finding something that cuts through that and actually determines signal to noise is more it. But I don't know that anyone has the perfect idea for that yet.
You know, when a lot of academic publishing, relies on like the anthology model, right? So they'll have, 10 different academics each submit a chapter to a work on topic X. And then the people that get their names on the cover are the ones that aggregate and edit all of that. And I'm wondering if there's a similar model for AI generated stuff, which is in the disclosure for the quote unquote author, it is like the author doesn't claim to be an author. They claim to be an editor of a resource or somebody who has pulled together things that they've not necessarily thought of on their own, but that they've decided that it is worth a little bit of time and investment on their part in order to get to the rest of the world. And I'm wondering if there's some kind of disclosures like that should be included.
Yeah, we need verbiage for that, don't we? We need language for that.
We need a way to understand that.
We need a shared understanding. And at this moment in time, we're not super great at sharing our understandings.
Nope.